Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, today we started our series with the Democratic candidates for governor. We're going to invite all of the Democratic candidates to be on this program over the next several months. Joining me today is John Hanger. He's a former Department of Environmental Protection Secretary. And then our popular financial literacy update. All of that follows these words.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back. Well, I think as almost everybody who pays attention to Pennsylvania politics understands, looks like we're going to have a spirited Democratic primary. I won't even begin to list the number of candidates. Those who are going to appear on this show are going to have filed papers with the Department of State saying they're a real candidate, not considering it. Joining me is a guy who's actually been on the show many times before, John Hanger. He used to be the Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection. He's one of the co-founders of one of Pennsylvania's leading environmental groups, Penn Future. John, welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's a delight to be with you.
Well, look, let's start with, I'm not going to ask you the question that was asked of Ted Kennedy, why are you running, and he fumbled it. You wouldn't fumble it. But look, obviously you're running because you have big differences with the current administration. You would like to see things done differently in Harrisburg, policy-wise. Give me 3 or 4 of the big things you would do if John Hanger was governor, right out of the box. Your first message to the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, what would they be?
The most important issue right now in Pennsylvania is our public schools. We have to, in fact, increase funding for our public schools. We need to return the state portion of public education funding to 50%. And we also got to come to grips with the fact that we're wasting a lot of money on failed public schools, failed charter schools. Right. We are sending over $700 million a year, Terry, to charter schools that are not meeting the federal student performance standards for reading and math. Now, I support good charter schools, but $700 million going to charter schools that are not meeting math and reading standards is terrible, because all of that money is coming out of local schools and local schools' taxpayers' pockets. Right. So that's got to stop. I have a plan to improve our public schools, a longer school day, a longer school year. I've lost the school children vote, but that actually works to improve student performance. I believe in more preschool. In Pennsylvania right now, we're going in the opposite direction. We're getting less preschool, less kindergarten.
So you're saying number 1 priority for John Hanger would be education?
Absolutely.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is jobs, and I've actually got a jobs plan on my website. If you go to my website and compare it to the other candidates who have filed those papers, you'll see a lot of plans and solutions to Pennsylvania's problems. So I have a jobs plan that would create over 380,000 jobs here in Pennsylvania. It starts with transportation. We've not had a transportation plan for 3 construction seasons of the Corbyn administration. One of the results is lousy bridges and lousy roads, but we've also lost 145,000 jobs that could be created.
So would you have supported one of the plans? The Senate, as you know, passed a $3.5 billion infrastructure, we'll call it infrastructure plan, that had, raising the wholesale gasoline tax. We've done lots of programs. Is that what you have in mind?
Yeah, it was $2.5 billion.
$2.5 billion.
But yes, absolutely. I would have been one of the 45 senators had I had a vote in the Senate for that plan.
Right.
Now, what's terrible is that the governor had provided no leadership for the first 2.5 years, and really no leadership during this last session on transportation. He wanted to privatize liquor. That was the most important thing to this governor.
Right.
Now, whatever you think about that issue, that issue, privatizing or not privatizing liquor, is not going to fundamentally affect the course of Pennsylvania's economy or its schools. And we need to get down to the real issues, which is schools and the fact that our public schools are cratering, and jobs. This governor has only created 5,000 jobs in the last 12 months.
All right, we're going to run to a quick break. When we come back, I want to ask John Hanger about a couple of environmental questions, which he obviously has spent a lot of time on. And then one of the more controversial, he knows I'm going to ask him this question about medical marijuana and marijuana. Should it be legal in the state? We'll find out what John Hanger has to say after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania Business Council Education Foundation, educating citizens and business leaders about important public policy issues and civic affairs. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by BetterSaferRoads.com. To voice your support for safer highways and less traffic congestion, visit BetterSaferRoads.com. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, welcome back to the program. We're doing a series with the Democratic candidates for governor. As always, Governor Corbett is always welcome on this program. He's been on this program many times. We're going to have all the candidates. It's up to you to make this decision. We're just letting them express their opinions. All right, John Hanger, let's talk a little bit about, you were PUC commissioner, you were DEP secretary. Fracking. I mean, of all the issues we're talking about, fracking and the environment. Give us your 2-minute overview of what we should do about fracking and how should we handle the environmental concerns.
Well, the first thing you got to say is the governor has lost the confidence of the public in terms of overseeing the gas industry. Gas drilling and shale gas drilling is industrial activity. And it must be strongly regulated, and it should be reasonably taxed. We're doing neither in Pennsylvania. We're not strongly regulating it, and we're not reasonably taxing it. Mm-hmm. So my first job would be to, in fact, restore public confidence in the oversight of the gas industry. And I would do that by hiring another 105 gas drilling inspectors. I would increase the oversight staff by 50%. We'd do that immediately. Mm-hmm. I would also open an office for citizens who have problems with gas drilling to bring their complaints to, so they could be professionally and independently investigated. Mm-hmm. Now, we have to make it clear that in Pennsylvania, the gas drilling will be done as well as humanly possible, and when the gas companies make a mistake, they will be made to clean it up, and when they get into a fight with the public or a citizen who has had a real problem, this governor, me, would be on the side of the citizen.
So to understand, okay, I got that. So you're in favor of fracking with the proper environmental, what you would argue would be the proper environmental control.
Well,
right?
It must be strongly regulated and reasonably taxed. I did in fact write the moratorium on gas drilling in the state forest, and I would keep that moratorium.
I was going to go there. That's where I was heading. No drilling on
state forests or in public parks or state parks. And by the way, there's a real threat that drilling could happen in our state parks. I have a plan to keep it out of our state parks.
Okay. One last question on this. When we have an impact fee but not a severance tax. You alluded to this. Would you support a severance tax? If I understand this, and you'll correct me, that would be a tax on the cubic feet extracted from the wells. Is that right? Are you in favor of that?
I am, and I've gone further. I'll give you the specific tax. I support the tax that West Virginia has already had on the books for more than 5 years. Mm-hmm. That tax is right in the middle of the range from high to low. If it works in West Virginia, it can work here.
All right. Now, should on this big issue of zoning, it's currently before the Supreme Court, would you, one of the courts, I think it's the Supreme Court, would you allow local zoning boards to determine much of the fate of where drilling can be done? You think that should be under state control? Right.
I think Act 13, which really pretty much put the local governments out of the business of figuring out where gas drilling can occur, was an overreach. It was an overreaction to a few municipalities that went too far. A couple municipalities banned gas drilling, and that was against the old law, the law before the legislature got in there. Right. That was clearly illegal then. So look, local governments know where their schools are. Local governments know where their churches are. People in Harrisburg actually have no clue where any of those things are anywhere in the state other than where they personally live. So it's very important to have a good, productive relationship with local governments. And of course, this is industrial activity, and we've had a strong tradition that local governments get to regulate industrial activity.
We have about a minute in this. I'm going to hold the marijuana questions off until the third segment, but I want to come back to one thing. Taxes. You're going to be asked this. You know, what is your position? You want to increase spending particularly on education? Do we have higher sales tax? Do we have higher income tax? What are you're obviously
Right.
You've been asked this a lot. What do you want to do
Well,
about
look,
that?
first, I have not and will not sign the Grover Norquist no tax pledge. The governor has. He's proud he's done it. I think that was reckless and irresponsible. And by the way, Grover himself says the governor's violated it 3 times.
Yeah. Impact fee was one, right?
Well, right. But I support a drilling tax. I think that can raise $400 to $800 million. I support a tax on smokeless tobacco and cigars. That will raise tens of millions of dollars. I have a plan of cutting waste in charter schools, the failed charter schools.
Right.
That's $700 million that we're wasting that we can bring back to our public schools and good performing charter schools. That's $700 million.
All right, we're going to run to a break. We're going to get into what I think is sort of intriguing, medical marijuana, the legalization, or maybe decriminalization is a better way to put it. I want to ask John Hanger about that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back with John Hanger, Democratic candidate for governor. All right, let's talk about this. Let's go through this. We'll take the sort of the easy one because the voters of the state and polls I've done and others do support medical marijuana. Go through this list of things and explain what John Hanger would do.
Right. Well, look, right now, across the board, the use of marijuana for any purpose is illegal in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
It actually can get you into a lot of trouble, can wreck your life. And I'm certainly not here today to encourage anybody to use marijuana. But I think our criminalization of marijuana is a huge public policy mistake that is, in fact, ruining lives. So on medical marijuana, we actually withhold marijuana or cannabis from sick patients, even when a doctor says cannabis is the right medicine. That's wrong, that's cruel, and I would change that immediately. And I think you're right, over 80% of...
Huge number of voters in our state support it.
Right, and 20 states have done it. Then there's the second step, which is decriminalization. It's to lower the penalties, make the possession of small amounts of marijuana, now we're talking about possession only, of small amounts of marijuana, a traffic offense. So you don't get a criminal record. You don't get branded as a drug criminal for the rest of your life. We've had 3 presidents of the United States who would be branded as drug criminals had they been caught doing what they've now said they did apparently quite regularly. There's tremendous hypocrisy here. And I've run across people in Pennsylvania who can't get jobs, who have, in fact, lost educational opportunities because they got a marijuana possession offense on their record. I don't support wrecking lives in that fashion. And now we know also in the third step is potential regulation or taxation of marijuana. And that's what Colorado and Washington State are doing.
Right.
I have proposed doing that in 2017 if the first 2 steps go well and if Colorado and Washington go well.
I was just going to say, I read your proposal and you would monitor the third step. You're not calling for that immediately.
No, I have that right. Exactly. We do this in sequence, make sure we're not causing harm as we go through it. But let's be honest with each other. What we're doing right now on marijuana doesn't work. It costs taxpayers over $300 million a year to enforce these laws. It creates tremendous harm to individuals and families. I've had mothers come to me, Terry, with 18-year-old children who were about ready to matriculate to a college who had to put the whole year off.
Yeah.
And they're facing the inability to get jobs for the rest of their lives. I don't support that.
All right, John Hanger, thanks. As I said, we're going to give all of you a chance. I think that's important. We tried not to interrupt to let these candidates. I'm going to let these candidates get their views out. You all can decide out there, which is what you do on Election Day. All right, our popular financial literacy update is next.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, joining me as often is the case is Mike Wishnow. He's a Senior VP with the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association, and Michael Williams. He's the 2013 PCUA Youth Ambassador. I can't wait to deal with this. Listen to this. The Widget Financial Federal Credit Union from Erie. This is something we got to find out. All right, Michael, I want to talk about the ambassadorship, but just in 5 seconds, what is the Widget Financial Credit Union?
It's a lot more than 5 seconds, but we were formerly the Erie General Electric Federal Credit Union. Okay. We serve a lot of, our original select employer group was GE employees, got a big GE plant in Erie. But we serve a lot more than just General Electric employees, trying to do a lot for the community. And people thought you had to work at GE to join, so we kind of went down a whole name change process.
Widget.
Erie is very much a manufacturing town.
That I know.
Have a lot of widgets.
Many times.
Yeah, so Widget was a good fit. Kept General Electric Transportation, GET at the end there.
I got it.
So it was a good fit for us.
You know, people like respond. They look at this name and they go, hold their hands up like that.
It's perfect just for that.
See, that's good. That's great. Did you think of that?
No, I cannot take credit. Those folks thought.
All right, Michael. Let's talk about this. Youth Ambassador contest, first of all. Explain that. You all have it. Go ahead.
We've had it for 37 years,
Is that
Terry.
all?
Yeah,
okay.
That's all. What we do is we have contests in chapters across Pennsylvania, and it's really very prestigious in the credit union circles. When we have our annual convention, all the winners come and they compete in a statewide contest. And Mike was, quite frankly, the finest of the best. Mm-hmm. He won this year's Youth Ambassador contest. He's going to be representing Pennsylvania credit unions to youth and getting more youth involvement and those types of things. And I know Mike has a lot.
Now one of the things that you did was that your talk focused on how you messaging, I got that right, a product, in this case a credit union, and what was your message?
My message had to do a lot of things. I think that a lot of the reasons that young people these days are turning to places with even higher fees is because they want things to be easy. Yeah. And credit unions are certainly phenomenal because we have lower fees. We're trying to serve our members, but young people are getting suckered into things that are just generally easier, and they don't necessarily care about the fees. So as credit unions, we're trying to work to make things easier for our membership so we can get younger people and truly prepare them for the future.
Is that does that relate to the partnership you have with Penn State Erie, the Penn State campus?
Yeah, in Erie up at the Penn State Barron campus, we've done a couple financial literacy presentations up there. Just walking through, it's a real life, reality type demonstration where young students, especially at risk, can kind of go through a series of booths where they can take part and pretend like they're doing their actual budget. So
not to interrupt, we'll come back to this story in a minute. How many participants are in this in credit unions?
In the Youth Ambassador contest, we have roughly 15 that make it to the States because 15 chapters hold contests.
Okay.
Each of those chapters may have anywhere from 2 to 5 individuals. They have to be between the ages of 18 and 25, and they compete by taking a test. They do a series of interviews with our judges, and then at the end they culminate with a speech. Right. And as Mike said, his speech was talking about how to make credit unions more attractive to younger folks.
Yeah. So talk a little bit more, Mike, about the outreach that you've engaged in. You got Penn State. What other groups have you been working with?
Yeah, we've worked with Penn State. We've worked with our local, just the local schools. You know, as the last segment said, you know, the schools are looking for ways to improve their just education in general. And so we've been partnering with a company that writes a financial magazine that we're able to take to the schools and give the teachers with some lesson plans to kind of augment their teaching.
Are you in school now?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Is it your, obviously you've been to school recently, is it your, Michael and I have talked about this and guests over the years with his guests about how young folks just need financial literacy education. That, you know, I go into I go on a college campus at the opening of a school, and there are 15 booths to get a credit card.
Yeah.
You know, and signing up for credit card. What's your sense about the overall literacy, financial literacy that young folks have?
Oh, it's pretty poor, and that's where credit unions can come in. I mean, the biggest day, I went to Edinburgh, you know, one of the Pennsylvania state schools, and the biggest day with the best parties is always refund check day. Everyone gets their refund check, and that's money that's supposed to be going to, you know, housing, to books, to living on. And, you know, there's always some big parties.
Else,
is
that right?
Yeah,
That's
the local beer distributor always makes out good on it. It's because people don't understand it until it's too late that they have to pay that back, and it's going to cost them.
Yeah. Michael, moving forward, where do you see this program going?
Well, we're really, really proud of our Youth Ambassador program. And what we're looking at now is developing a young professionals network, which will include many of our youth ambassadors, plus a wider swath of professionals working in credit unions, so that we can make sure that credit unions are positioned to deliver the products and services that young people want and desire.
Now, what do you do? Is this a year-long commitment?
Yeah, it's year-long. It was it started in May, and it'll go until
Okay, so
May.
you still have a lot of the time left, so what's ahead?
Ahead, there's a conference where there's a lot of like-minded individuals, not necessarily from Youth Ambassador contests, but that are in financial literacy. There's a conference that I'll be attending for that, to kind of pick up on some techniques and find ways that I can bring things back and implement, as well as just different speaking engagements.
And you'll travel around this day talking to different groups and credit unions, and you help schedule some of that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, he does that on behalf of the Association for all credit unions.
Yeah. I'm still I still can't get over widget. I can't figure out do you ever figure out what a widget is?
It's our financial institution, our credit union. If you've ever taken a math class, you have widgets in there. XYZ Corp makes so many widgets.
I know something about polls, doing polls and numbers and those things. But yeah, so overall, then you'll spend the next year doing this. You've got a bunch of stuff to do. Is there some kind of you'll give them a final report about what you think, recommendations about how to improve the program?
Yeah,
is that part of it?
At the end of the convention, we always, Youth Ambassador and the Association talks and kind of figures out how we can further the movement and further ways that we can really bring financial literacy and reach young adults.
Okay, we have about 45 seconds left. The one thing, and I know this wasn't on the agenda, the payday lending bill that was in, you and I have talked about that and your concerns about that and where all that goes in the legislature. You still have concerns about payday lending in the state? I'm just going to ask you generically. You and I have chatted about that.
Yes. I mean, there are programs out there, including the Credit Union Better Choice program, that allows people to get small dollar loans in a very responsible way.
But you have some concerns about that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well.